of these groups, who was the most radical? Knights of Labor, American Federation of Labor, and the Industrial Workers of the World.
American Federation of Labor?
No, sir. The Industrial Workers of the World. You'll need to know. Right? You'll need to know about the boycott cases, in which the Sherman Antitrust Act was used as a way of prosecuting union activity. And then, as a result, again, the Clayton Act was passed, which removed unions from the Sherman Act jurisdiction. Very important. You'll need to know what was the American plan. What was the American plan? The American plan was, again, the way in which employers were trying to essentially demonize union membership by associating them with international or foreign movements, specifically the socialist or the communist movement. You need to understand that. All right. You need to understand what the who are the Committee of Industrial Organization, the CIO. Who are they? I need to understand particularly the African Americans' role in the CIO. All right. The Norris-LaGuardia Act, very important. What was the Norris-LaGuardia Act? What does it do? What does it do? Ms. Olatunji, what does it do? Ms. Olatunji. Ms. Olatunji. Ms. Olatunji, what does it do? Ms. Olatunji, you trying to get some points?
It restricts the power of the federal courts to issue injunctions.
How about the Wagner Act, Ms. Mathis?
So what is it? The law that provided for collective bargaining for handling labor disputes recognized the rights to representation, established the National Labor Board.
And what was another name for the Wagner Act?
The National Labor Relations Act.
You guys will need to know this. I'm telling you. We're reviewing right now, and it's like you guys haven't started the review process. You only got a week. How about the Taft-Hartley Act, Ms. Chompong?
The Act amended and extended the Wagner Act to include union unfair labor practices.
Unfair labor practices. There were two major things the Taft-Hartley Act did. One is to create this idea of the unfair labor practices, and who adjudicates unfair labor practices acts, Ms. Chompong? What body? Set up to adjudicate, where you can again serve almost like the court for unfair labor practices. Ms. Poe, why don't you go ahead and help her out? What body was created to, again, adjudicate, serve as the court for unfair labor practices? Ms. Poe. Ms. Poe. Well, there's only one of you all standing, and the other person's not. Anybody remember? Yes, ma'am.
The NLRB.
Exactly, the NLRB. We've been talking about the NLRB almost the entire 15 weeks. What else does the NLRB do, Miss Poe? You'll need to know. Have a seat. The Landrum-Griffin Act. What does that do? Go ahead, Ms. Poe.
It established the individual union members' rights.
To do what?
Freedom of speech, equal voting, control of dues increases, and copies of labor agreements under which they work.
All right. Those are some of the major things that the Civil Service Reform Act may also be mentioned. You'll need to know that. What does it do again, Ms. Poe?
For the national due.
The major thing that it established.
Due.
You don't have, what does it say right there, Ms. Poe? But understand, right? And it created a board that's similar to the NLRB, and that's called what? Very important. Very important. All right? Especially given, again, all the federal government activity here in this area. All right? You can have a seat. So you had that. Then you had chapter 2. Chapter 2, then we had chapter 3. What was the Railway Labor Act? You'll need to know. Again, what was the impact? Again, the Norris-LaGuardia Act. We talked about it in chapter 2, but again, we dove down deep into chapter 3. Again, we talked about the Wagner and the Taft-Hartley Acts. Idea of hot cargo. Employees and unions cannot negotiate contracts providing that a particular product of certain employers will not be used. Exceptions are construction industries and the apparel industries. Again, what can a question might be? Can a union, can the same collective bargaining unit represent both faculty members as well as administrative staff? Mr. Pollard?
No.
Why not?
Because I think it's because of can't represent supervisor. Something like that.
Again, the one is because of what was argued or stated by the union representative, because faculty members were considered supervisors, but that wasn't the correct answer, right? What was the correct answer? Do you remember, Chavez?
One was professional, one was non-professional.
One was professional, the other was non-professional. Exactly. That's the issue, right? Okay. And that came out of the Wagner and Taft Hartley Acts, all right? You have a seat. Idea about the right to work laws. What's the right to work law, Mr. Ave?
Right to work is in certain states, employees either have to join the union or they have the opportunity to work. Some employers require them to join the union regardless, and then the other option is that they can
But a right to work state is a state in which what?
They can choose.
States have passed laws that gives them the option of joining.
Yeah, the option of joining the labor.
Right.
Or not.
And what's the kind of opposite of a right to work state? States that don't have a right to work that have not passed these laws, they generally have what kind of clauses inside their union contracts?
Unenforceable.
What clauses do they have inside of their contracts? Agency or union shop clause, or either a union clause, a union shop clause, or an agency shop clause. And they are what? What are those clauses, Mr.?
Unenforceable.
I said, what are they?
What are they? Clauses.
Because they're not unenforceable in all states. They're only unenforceable in which states?
The states that aren't right to work.
Right.
The 4 states that what?
Are not right to work.
No.
States that are right to work.
4 states that are right to work. You need to have a clear understanding about that. And so what are they? What are they? What are union or agency shop clauses? What are they? What do they require? Mr. Solomon, what are they? An agency shop clause. Union shop clause. What are these shop? What are the clauses? You'll need to know that. Again, these are clauses that require everybody to be a part of the union. Again, a closed shop, right? Union shop. In order to be a part of the union, you have to be. In order to work for this company, you have to be a member of the union. Typically, any union that is created in an employer location has that as a part of the contract, collective bargaining agreement. However, in states that have have passed right to work laws, they can essentially prevent those types of clauses from being incorporated into contracts. See that? You'll need to know that. All right. You can have a seat. Again, the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Services. What does that do, Mr. Ave?
It was created to offer mediation services whenever disputes arise.
All right. So these, I'm just kind of skimming these things as a way of showing you guys what you should be studying. All right. The Department of Labor. You can have a seat, Mr. Ave. The National Mediation Board. The National Labor Relations Board. All right? What does NLRB do, Ms. Washington? Well, it's an important role of the NLRB in terms of forming a union.
They are responsible for investigating and ruling on unfair labor practice charges and holding and certifying the results of representation transactions.
Exactly. So again, the most important thing is that they can, if a employer is not allowing a union to be formed, a complaint can be sent to the National Labor Relations Board suggesting that, again, at least 30% of the people have signed the cards, right? What are the cards called? authorization card, right? And again, requesting that the National Labor Relations Board conduct an election, all right? It's a key thing. Then if during the process of either negotiating a contract or them engaging in some other protected union activities, if employer takes action against the union, then they can, again, contact the National Labor Relations Board to seek adjudication, seek a remedy, right? All right, those are things that you need to understand. The Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, what does that deal with? Pension benefits. Again, that's chapter 3. Chapter 4. Again, the local union, who is the most important person in a particular union? Who's involved with management, dealing with management and our grievances? Who's the person who, again, most looked to address issues of grievances at the union? Also collecting dues. Steward, absolutely. All right. What happens once a member gets elected to be an officer of a union? What generally happens to that officer? Does he continue doing his or her job at the if he's an officer?
No.
What does he do?
He works for the union.
He works for the union. And who pays him?
The union and himself.
The employer primarily, but then the unions can supplement the income. All right? What's the difference between the local union and the national unions? What's an independent local union? Again, it's a union that's not affiliated with the national or the Federation of Unions, such as the AFL-CIO, right? Again, you'll need to understand, well, what is the role of an international union? What is the role of a national union? What is the role of national unions? Miss Prince?
National union established jurisdiction over the local union. Over the local union.
What does it say, Miss?
Huh?
What does it say? Jurisdictions over what?
Workers in specific crafts, industries, or other jobs.
So again, they defined what unions within in the local area were going to represent different crafts, industries, or other job territories, right? Again, how are the union officers elected, Ms. Prince?
Convention.
And who attends these conventions?
Delegates.
Delegates that come from where?
The local union.
Exactly. All right. And so, what are the key things to helping national unions grow?
Campaigning.
What kind of campaigning?
Or funds. Political.
Organizing, first of all, which is again creating unions where they don't exist, such as here in Bowie State, right? Second is what?
Participation
And a corporate campaign is what? That's a campaign to, again, compel businesses to do right with their workers, right? And political action committees. What are political action committees?
They promote political action.
Political action committee promotes the election or the defeat of certain political leaders. And why would unions want to promote the election or defeat of various political leaders? Why would unions want to, again, promote the election or defeat of various political leaders?
If they're out in their best interest.
Exactly. So again, in a union, particularly, again, the idea of some laws were passed to prevent union membership from growing, right? Right to work laws, right? So you don't want to have those types of people who are in, for example, Congress. You don't want to have, again, in, let's say, a state government, you don't want to have, for example, here in the state of Maryland, the faculty are not able to collectively, they're not entitled to collective bargaining. So you want to have people who are elected to public office. Exactly. You want to have pro-labor political leaders who will vote in favor of laws that are going to help increase and expand union membership. And that's the reason why you have political action committees, which are committees specifically dedicated to donating to people's campaigns to help either elect people or help unelect people. That's what a political action committee is, all right? Very powerful operation. In fact, when I first got here to D.C., I worked in an office of the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, their national office, and their political action office. And in their political action office, I sat at the desk after the people had left to make phone calls out to basically poll people about where they would be voting. But the key thing that was going on that I saw at these people's desks were there were checks on the desk. Checks. Guess what the denomination of these checks were in most cases? Either $2,500 or $5,000 going out to members of Congress. And what kind of members of Congress were receiving these checks, Ms. Prince? What types of members of Congress were receiving the checks from the political action committee of this particular union that I mentioned?
The ones who support collective bargaining.
You would think, right? But in fact, I saw that these checks were going out to both Republicans and Democrats. Yeah, I would assume they'd go out to Democrats because Democrats generally do support collective bargaining, right? But in some cases, again, in order to get the support of Republicans, they would give them money, right, to at least hopefully carry favor for them. And when the vote was passed or came up, they would support them. Ultimately, I don't know if they're still doing that because because unions have gotten almost zilch from the federal government, or particularly from the United States Congress, in terms of laws over the past, dare say, 10 years plus, maybe actually going back to 20 years since the passage of NAFTA around that time. There's nothing that came out of the Bush time and hardly anything that came out of the Obama era, other than, again, appointments to the National Labor Relations Board. But again, in terms of laws, there was a key law that the unions were pushing for and thought that the Obama administration was going to help. The Obama administration, folks during the campaign suggested that they were going to help. It's the idea of card check. Card check was, again, reinforcing the idea of the union shop, or the closed shop, by requiring people to become members, in which you would, again, have to have a card, a union card, to work at a particular employer, from what I understood. But again, that legislation went nowhere in the entire 8 years of the Obama administration. So again, these are the types of things that go on in the National Labor Union. All right, you can have a seat. Again, something about change to win. What is a central body? What's a central body? Mr. Fitzgerald, what's a central body? What is the main role of a central body?
Reflect the composition of the parent AFL-CIO and the particular industrial mix of their geographic areas. They're primarily involved in politics and lobbying, and endorse state and local.
They are there to determine which candidates are going to be endorsed, primarily. And also they engage in making testimonies to various state bodies on behalf of the unions, organizing, engaging local elected officials. But first of all, electing them in the first place, and then staying in contact with them. That's what happens, all right? Unions can be created. Have a seat. Unions can be created in how many different ways? Through what? How can a union be created? Right? You can create a new one. What's the second one? Second way. They can merge. What's another way? Again, in this instance, when we're talking about, ask me, what are we trying to do? We're trying to, again, create a new collective bargaining unit where none exists. All right? Those are 3 ways. All right? What is free riding? What's free riding? You need to know. All right? So that's chapter 4. Then we had chapter 6. Union organizing campaigns. How do you form a union again? How do you form a union? Miss Vaden, how do you form a union? How do you form a union? Anybody can help out Ms. Vaden? What's the first thing, Mr. Pollard?
Authorization card.
First of all, you have a what campaign?
Authorization.
An authorization card campaign. And what is that? Mr. Pollard, that you're in it?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Tries to enroll employees in the union and the unit the union seeks to represent.
That's right. So first of all, you have these types of cards right there, right? You want to get how many people to sign the cards? Ms. Faden? In order to start off, that's the election. But your goal is to try to get everybody. But at minimum, in order for, again, the NLRB to declare an election, what's the minimum number you need to get? Not an election. 30%. You need to at least get 30% of the cards signed, right? And the cards can, what is the card going to state, basically? What is the main thing that this card is going to be stating?
Negotiate wages.
It's going to identify the union who's going to be representing you. Now, it could be that you had two unions representing the same group of workers. So instead of having a single union negotiating on behalf of all the workers, you could have multiple unions in which the workers are represented. And that's an interesting perspective that we're going to hopefully talk to our speaker about. All right? You can have a seat. The idea of having the picketing. Now, why would they picket, Ms. Vaden? Why would workers picket in the context of trying to form a union? After you get a majority, so again, going back, at least 30%, you get 30%, you can then submit your application to the NLRB, right? If you get a majority of the employees that sign authorization card, then you can do what? Ms. Vaden? From who? From who? Who? Request from who, Ms. Vaden? Who is it? Ms. Ladney? Who is she requesting from? You don't have to stand. Who are you going to be, if you get at least 50, so again, 30% you request from who? Recognition through an election from who? 30% of the cards, you can then submit it to who? The National Labor Relations Board. If you get 50%, you can then request it from who, Ms. Vaden? The employer. Get it? So, and if they don't recognize you immediately, then what may a union do, Ms. Vaden? And if they don't give them the recognition, what can they do? Picket. For how many days? 30 days, all right? Key points that you need to understand. Key point, all right? And what happens if the, how many votes did they need to get, Ms. Faden? In order to be recognized? No, not the cards. 50 plus 1, exactly. And they lose, then can they continue to picket? No, because that would be a what? Unfair labor practice. Outstanding. Have a seat. Right? That is the thing. Now tell me about decertification. Decertification. How many people has to request decertification? How many, pardon me? Not the vote. I'm asking a decertification. How many cards have to be signed by people in the decertification?
30% of the employees.
Again, the same way formed is the same way to basically deform, if you will, or to destroy, if you will. Again, through decertification. And if at least 30% of the employees indicate that they don't want to be recognized, or that want to be continued to be recognized, then a election can be called. And if they have a majority vote, then the union will be decertified. All right? So these are the types of things that you guys will need to know on the exam. All right? I'm going to, we're going to just we talked about the bargaining units, just quickly. And again, the bargaining units can be divided based upon the actual work of the laborers, all right? Think about that. Now, what is accretion? What is accretion? What is accretion? Simmons, what's accretion?
When a new facility is added to the bargaining unit.
Exactly. So again, when you have a new, new facility, let's say for example, you have a plant and it joins the bargaining unit, or when an existing union and an employer wins representation rights for employees that were previously represented by another union. Those are the two different ways, again, in which unions can expand, right? So those are the things that you need to know with respect to Chapter 6. All right? Next you have Chapter 7, union avoidance. These are things that, again, businesses do to get out of organizing unions. Then you have Chapter 8, which is, again, the whole idea of the collective bargaining and what is included in a CBA. Then you have the actual contract itself. What are the key terms and how the negotiation process works? What are the bargaining books? What's a bargaining book? What's contained in the bargaining book? You don't need to know.
Contract clauses.
Absolutely. The whole list of what's contained. How can a strike be called? How many people have to vote for a strike to be called? 30%, 50%, 70%, 51%, 50 plus 1, who? For a strike to be called. That's what you'll need to know. 50 plus 1. All right? So again, we've gone through a whole lot over this past 15 weeks. Please study. 20% of your grade, all right? 20% of your grade. So again, why don't we get ready to start? We'll pause here for 5 minutes. The judge is coming through. Let's pull up the PowerPoint presentations. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, let's try to organize, let's create a box right here. A box right here. You guys get up and create this right here, these two rows, create a box. Yeah, move the table, create a box right there.
Can we just like turn sideways?
Get these chairs right here.
Oh my gosh. I think it's gonna work. It's already like in a square. I think we should just sit in a square.
So these tables right here, they move right here? Yeah, these ones move. Yeah, they move. Yeah, you don't have to move all the tables. This could be the end of the box right here, right?
All right, so connect it right there.
Exactly.
What the heck?
Pull this out.
I'm stealing the seat.
I ain't never seen no box. Oh, how you want this done?
I think you got to sit on the outside.
That's what I'm saying. So. You see the last verse?
Don't disconnect that. Just keep it down this way.
This one? Yeah. Just moved it.
How about
On the first try.
That's not a square. It's back to how it was.
They're all blown jump, bro.
It was already in a long triangle, rectangle.
we'll keep this right here. Not this one.
Okay.
These
I
right
think we
here.
should stop the video. They don't need to see this.
So we'll have the arbitrators down that side.
That's us?
Can you bring all the coats and stuff like that back over here?
We the regulator.
Why does it say that arbitrator?
Arbitrators over here.
So where do I sit?
But the professors. Hi, Ann, how are you doing? Yes, we're just setting up the arbitration.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Welcome.
This is again, move the arbitrator. Make sure you have chairs on this side. Take these chairs off on this phone. Remove these chairs. Guys, can you help move these chairs out? That's what we're talking about. Chairs should be over here on this side for this team. Right here, this side right here. Who are the universities? Who's representing the university? All the universities right here.
We have chairs like this, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, we bring
So the university right here, the union right there, arbitrators right here. All right.
So what was the... No comprende.
Hey, you can say the nigga, Mr. Nigga. Cutting straight Senate.
That's still recording? They record this too? I guess so. That would be...
Who y'all?
I know.
She still got the arbitrators.
What do you mean? I got you. He's over there at 5%. What?
Okay, so let's just go over it.
What she wants to? Does she want to? Sure.
Somebody get
She needed to see them.
Y'all don't get up so quick, everybody, gentlemen.
Oh, you got it ready?
Right.
About to slide in this?
I gotta do the ask questions. Nobody even knows anything. I'm the reporter, so I'm not saying nothing.
Ask questions.
You can ask questions. Sounds smart. I got my Google. I'm like the... Oh, we're all black.
Quickly, guys, we're going to be grading for team appearance, for your written presentation, including any exhibits, the presentation of the attorneys, the presentations of the witness, and the overall group member participation. All right. What's going to happen is that the way this is going to start off, we'll have the opening statement of the union for 3 minutes. Maybe you can you have a timer.
Yes, I do.
You have opening statement of the union for 3 minutes. Opening statement of the university for 3 minutes. You have the direct examination of the union witness for 6 minutes. You have cross-examination of the union witness for 6 minutes. Then you have direct examination of the university witness for 6 minutes. Witnesses for 6 minutes. And you have the cross-examination of the university witnesses for 6 minutes. You have the closing statement of the union, closing statement of the university, the ruling of the arbitrator. Now note, the judges, the arbitrators, you all are empowered to ask questions throughout the, particularly the examinations. So allow generally the people to give their opening statement, but you can ask questions throughout the examinations of the witnesses and during the closing statements. All right, but be mindful of the time. Okay, the time is theirs, but you can use their time to ask your questions. All right. So Ann is going to assist us with the timing, and she'll just basically tell the teams how many more minutes they have for each section. All right, so it'll be 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. Stop. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started right now, and we'll start again with the opening statement of the unions, and then what I'll do is I will use the PowerPoint presentation that's on the screen. Is this the union represent? Is this the?
No, that's us.
That's the university. Is this the union right here? Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. Union, go ahead. It's your time. Use it the way you like.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In the spring of 2018, inspired by the efforts of the fall 2017 Management 371 class, Bowie State University adjunct professors established a new collective bargaining agreement for the unit of ASME Local 1297. Despite the lack of labor rights, the adjunct professors engaged in pickets, social media campaigns, and work stoppages to convince Bowie State University to recognize ASME as their sole representative for collective bargaining purposes. By the summer of 2018, the adjuncts in the university had negotiated and signed their first 2-year collective bargaining agreement. Including a reference to the relevant provisions of the bargaining agreement. The agreement provided that adjuncts with advanced degrees will be paid $5,000 for teaching a 16-week class and $2,500 for teaching a class of 8 weeks or less. Proposed collective bargaining agreement compensation language, along with data and other facts to support their position. The adjunct professors are seeking a 20% increase. The university contends that since it is not obligated to renew the adjunct's contract, they should be content with merely a 5% increase. And our witnesses are Attorney Mathis and Professor Karim. 1 minute.
And I just want to make sure it's clear, this Professor Karim will not be a witness, so you hopefully will have somebody who will be Professor Karim designated in your team. You done?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. The university?
Where did you guys come up with your numbers for, like, the percentages? How did that, like, how did you come up with that number?
Can you, can the arbitrators allow?
Oh, you said it's a go.
Allow the opening statements for you.
That's what I was saying. You told me to go. All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I'm opening counsel for Bowie State University, Abenave Esquire. Bowie State University is proud to be one of the premier HBCUs in the country. Our new president, Dr. Bro, is making great strides to improve the educational experience for students and faculty. We're grateful to have such a dedicated staff of full-time and adjunct faculty to help nourish our young people's true potential. Our economic situation is that of higher living expenses while pay rates stay the same, increased transportation costs, and rising interest rates. Bowie State University is a public institution, and what economic hardships befall society is also felt at the university. Bowie State is not exempt from tax cuts and other public policies with financial implications. We do our best to manage the funds allocated to us by the state and through tuition from students. We consider our adjunct faculty the backbone of our university. Let's just be frank for a second.
2 minutes.
Universities are increasingly using adjunct professors because of the budget constraints and costs of employing full-time professors is not financially responsible for some public colleges and universities. We initially made an agreement in the spring of 2018 with the adjunct faculty and established a collective bargaining agreement. In the summer of 2018, that agreement was signed for 2 years, agreeing to pay advanced degrees faculty with PhDs and JDs $5,000 for teaching 16 weeks and $2,500 for teaching 8 weeks. The university is not obligated to renew the adjunct's contract as it expires in the spring. The university understands the financial hardship given the economic climate of the country. Thank you.
Witnesses?
Oh, our witnesses.
Union witness.
I'm Sonia Mathis, I'm the union president.
Who's your witness?
Right here.
So who's the attorney asking the questions of the witness?
My name is Erica Poe, and I'm the attorney for the examination of witness.
The witness can have a seat.
How much money do you make?
What's your witness's name?
Oh, my witness is Tony Mathis,
And who is she?
the union representative. How much money do you make?
$50,000.
Do you feel that you make enough money based upon the work that you do?
Yes, I do.
Do you feel that you are treated fairly on the job?
Yes, I do.
What does AFSCME do for the adjunct professors?
Hey, what we do, we try to make sure, everything's good, school and everything.
What is the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging part of my job is when we have problems in our schools and that everything comes at once, so it's a lot of work to do. I work over 40 hours, so there's a lot to do with all the different problems at the school.
Those are all the questions I have for you.
Who's your next witness?
My name is Talib.
Wait a minute.
It's 3 minutes.
This is my other witness, Talib, Karim. What is the most challenging part of your job?
The hours of overtime I put into instructing my courses.
Do you feel like everyone is treated equally on the job?
No.
Do you feel that your pay supports your living conditions well?
No.
Can the witness speak up?
No.
How long have you been working for AFSCME?
I'm sorry?
How long have you been a part of the faculty?
5 years?
Do you feel you are paid well?
No, I would like.
Sorry, 2 minutes.
Excuse me, Ms. Pope. Your first witness said she was paid well, but your second witness said that he wasn't. I thought you guys wanted a raise.
Could you repeat that?
Your first witness stated that she was paid well. The second witness stated that he is not. Which one is it?
They are both paid well, but they would like a raise.
Okay, continue.
Those are the questions I have for you today.
Cross-examination. University gets to cross-examine the witness.
Any one of us, some asking a question.